Evening, everybody. I am here to kick off the pathway and the discussions that I'm going to have about AI governance, AI risk, how to assess that risk, and how to put protections in place to make sure that your organization, your data, and your clients are protected. The amount of potential downside to ungoverned AI is unbelievable. It's to the point where people don't actually know how dangerous it can be, because what we start looking at is a set of tools that are phenomenal. They're fantastic. They're so powerful. I think there's an old saying you might recognize: with great power comes great responsibility. And what we're doing is we're allowing it to go out and democratizing all of this information and all of this power. Wonderful. I'm a big fan of that. In this case, we have to make sure that we arm people with protective measures. This is the equivalent of handing every caveman and cavewoman out there tinder, flint, and a rock, and being able to give them fire all at once. And then for $30 a month, you can get a can of gasoline. And now, with tools like OpenClaw, Moltbook, Claude whatever it calls itself now, you're looking at jet fuel for these fires. You've got a lot of risk attached to this. I had a friend of mine talk to me the other day and wants to use it for various emails, triaging and stuff. And it really does seem like that is the number one use that you're finding for container tools like OpenClaw. People are saying, I just want you to stop allowing my email to be such a dumpster fire. And you're going to hear dumpster fire a few times in this quick intro to me and where I go. Great, you've given this very, very powerful tool access to whatever it thinks after you've given it access to your automations, your digital life. Then it gets to think about what it does. And then, oftentimes we use human in the loop to catch mistakes, errors, stressors. In this case, it purports to learn, understand how you would do things, start answering emails. I heard one story. A guy was in a meeting and he gave it explicit instructions to shop around, find me a good deal on this car, and it saved him a substantial amount of money. It emailed back and forth, so the salespeople weren't even knowing that they were dealing with a bot. It hunted things down. It looked at different listings. It made sure that it knew what it was talking about before it went. All right, now that right there is a terrific use of a tool like that. And flip side of the coin, I have heard people saying, oh, well, now I've given it digital autonomy, which you really need to think that through. And then it goes out and it starts spamming people and rolling through contacts and wildly unusable emails at best, inappropriate for a workplace. And I don't mean like inappropriate context or content. I just mean it doesn't fit what the person should have been getting. So you let things go that far, and now you've caused far more damage than you had ever marked on those incremental ratcheted up wins. That's where a proper risk assessment and a proper guidance plan needs to be in place. I'll show you quickly here on my screen. Bear with me, I'm looking and using a new tool while I'm going through this. Now, when you look at this type of a risk assessment, it's really straightforward. You go through and you've got on the x-axis, sorry, the y-axis is the likelihood of the event that you're assessing happening, the impact or consequences of what happens if that event happens. Now, you go and you go something that's very unlikely and very insignificant if it happens. You're golden, you're green. You move up a little bit and you go, well, this is possible. And it could be severe. You know, for instance, a relationship damage, if it emails back to a key client and goes rogue and gives something that you would never consider saying, that right there is high risk. In this case, something like letting your digital autonomy go to an entity that has no feelings, it has no guardrails, you're actually in the likely stage that something severe is going to happen if you start letting it run your email digital life. By the way, I'll point out I'm using this risk assessment from the ai-lawenforcement.org. I think it's very great. They put it out, let people see it, let people use it. These are the sort of tools that more people need in place. Now, I'll go back to the principles and concept of risk and what happens. I always tell my teams that every weakness is just a strength taken too far. If you're of the mindset where you're a funny person, that's fantastic. That's a great strength, being able to use humor in an appropriate way. You take that too far and people won't take you seriously. And they'll ask, well, why can't Adam just be serious for a few minutes? We've got important things to cover. He's always cracking jokes and it's not appropriate. If you go the other side of that coin and you're too serious, then you can say, well, man, all Adam ever does is work and just stress people. And why can't he just have a little fun? Every weakness is a strength taken too far. In this case, the strength is the ability to hand off a lot of tasks, and it's the ability to see it done very quickly, very thoroughly in most cases. Now, you let that strength go too far, and what do you get? Well, you get a dumpster fire because you have rapid fire, unchecked, possibly inappropriate things going out, and the amount of damage that can happen in the 10 minutes that you're getting up mixing a new coffee, it could absolutely devastate your business, your reputation, potentially even put files out there that are, sensitive. There's instances, cases where people's APIs have gone out, passwords have gone out. So what I'm going to wrap this up. I think with OpenClaw, when you type in OpenClaw reviews into your browser, into your favorite browser, let's do this real time. I will show you exactly what this looks like. All right. OpenClaw reviews. My honest thoughts. OpenClaw use cases that are actually helpful. There are quite a few. OpenClaw problem, nobody's talking about. OpenClaw is a game changer. I loved my OpenClaw agent until it turned on me. Now, yes, headlines are headlines. They're there for hype. It's god awful. I've heard of people getting tied in and give it a couple APIs, and it goes out and it spends hundreds and sometimes up to thousands of dollars of your money because, again, it's the strength of it being able to do things very quickly, very efficiently, taken too far because now there's no check and balance on, whoa, easy on what you're spending. Ultimately, I'm going to say, for now, OpenClaw, for the vast majority of people, unless you're a security guru or at best know security a whole lot better than I do, or you have a tech team who's fully understood where it's set up, where it's configured, what it has access to, and you've mapped out the bow tie of what could really happen, how do you prevent it, and then if it happens, how do you mitigate it? I'll talk about those in a future episode because I'm a big fan of how a bow tie matrix helps protect you against whatever your event is. And then if it happens, it helps you have a recovery plan. So I'll talk about those next time. And I'll just leave you with this thought. On a toolkit that's this powerful, when you have something this incredibly efficient and very quick, very smooth, you run the risk of, if it tips, you go way too far. When you think about, as I say, every weakness is a strength taken too far, part of what keeps us back is our cues. We have and receive, we give physical cues, port cues. A little bit of texting is a little harder. Physical and verbal are kind of the key. This doesn't have that. This doesn't look around and know the room. It doesn't, when you've told your fifth joke, see people start to roll their eyes as opposed to chuckle. It doesn't get that. And you can't count on it. So you need to reliably be able to risk assess before you use it, risk assess deeply before you use it, and then when you're using it, keep an eye on it. It could go rogue, and there will be more tools that come out like this. They are, again, wildly powerful. My recommendation, take N8N, build this out. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that one. Oh, N8N, well, it's last week's news. It's not. Something like that is a very powerful tool again, but it's something that you're in control of in a stronger degree. You still got a lot of risk. Do your risk assessment, do your bow tie exercise, and then deploy and continually check, check, check. The very last thing I will give you, a definition. And the definition is critical. So AI is something that when you go out, you've got some very good learning methods in behind it, and you've got some very good, I guess, references to past. It's learned everything, almost everything that humans have ever written. It watches things and it learns scenarios. But you have to remember that it has a lack of empathy. It has no remorse. It has no conscience. And it's often comes along with a superficial charm. It wants to keep you there. It's going to placate you. It's going to move on. And slightly manipulative. We've seen instances of that. And then, persistent behaviors. When you look at that, I just read you the definition of a psychopath. We oftentimes associate a psychopath with somebody who goes out and intentionally malevolent. That's not the definition of a psychopath. A psychopath is exactly this: profound lack of empathy, lack of remorse, lack of conscience, and often accompanied by a superficial charm and manipulates. Remember, you're not dealing with a person. You're dealing with a construct that has learned from what we've taught it. And when people say, oh, well, OpenClaw went and did this and nobody told it that, well, most certainly we did. We taught it that in its LLM programming, and we are 100% biasing everything it does, just not as directly as we might think. So, moral of the story: risk assess, plan, protect yourself, and have a recovery plan. So, thank you very much. And I'm just going to keep building these. I look forward to hopefully getting some comments and maybe hearing from people about what they think, what their experiences are, and from an AI governance perspective, what do you want to hear from me? What do you want to learn? And I'm super looking forward to sharing. See ya.